What would you say, knowing what you know now, to the version of yourself a few years ago before you joined the military?
Stop running. Stop running from your problems. Figure it out before you... Don't get me wrong, this is the right step. I feel like God told me, like, hey, like, this is where you're going. This is what you're going to be doing for the next few years. But I feel like if I were to have taken care of the problems that I'm dealing with now before I got into the military, I feel like my life would be a lot different now. I'd say everybody in my shop is either an atheist or an agnostic, you know? And it's so hard to talk to them. I mean, they come at me probably once a week, and I'm so glad I took apologetics in high school for 3 years, or I can't remember, 2 or 3 years. So shout out to Pastor Brown from my school, because he did a pretty good job at teaching me. If I didn't have that class, I don't know where I'd be now, because there's no way I could be defending my faith the way I am now. I mean, these guys come at you from every angle, and they're gonna ask you questions that you have no clue how to even answer. I'm not gonna drop his name. I'm gonna just say he was a staff sergeant. It was during the course that we put on. He came in, and I have a tattoo. It's in Aramaic. It says Yahweh on the backside of my arm, and he saw it because at that time we were sleeves up. It was during the summertime, and he pulled me aside and he wanted to talk. And I say that was probably one of the most eye-opening conversations I've had with someone in a long time. It's like, you're a staff NCO, you're wearing the same uniform as me, and you want to talk to me about God?
Welcome to the Serving with Faith podcast, a show exploring Christian leadership principles in today's military. Now, here is your host, Michael Cuddy.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Serving with Faith podcast. I'm your host, Mike, joined here again by my co-host, Nick. Nick, how you doing?
What's up, man? Doing well.
That's
Can't
awesome.
complain.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Hey, we got a good episode today. We spent a lot of time looking at perspectives from military personnel with a bit of rank on them, right? Sergeant majors, some majors, lieutenant colonels, some gunnery sergeants. Now we want to take a look at the perspective of our junior enlisted in the military. And we said it before, that's what this podcast is about perspectives from all ranks and all branches. And so this week we are continuing to be invaded by the Marines. And we've got a junior enlisted Marine on today. And we're going to look at really some things on the perspective of junior enlisted in the military and their faith, specifically things like identity, pressure, performance, things we've talked about before in the past. But I'll kick it over to you, Nick, to introduce our special guest, and we can get going.
Hey, thanks, Mike. Yeah, this is Justin Knight. He is a dear brother in the Lord for me, a Lance Corporal in the Marine Corps. I'm going to let him introduce himself here in a minute, but we met several years ago, and now he's like a son to me, as the Bible talks about Paul and Timothy. And so, yeah, Justin, tell us a little bit about you, introduce yourself, and what you do on active duty.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I am a 6048 flight equipment technician. I'm stationed out at Yuma, Arizona, MCAS Yuma. Yeah, that's about it. I don't know what else to say. I work on pilot gear. Easiest way to put it is anything that is on their person when they're walking out to the aircraft and going off for a flight. I inspect, maintain, and keep in storage.
Awesome. Yeah, that is cool. That's
anything that keeps them breathing while they're 30,000 feet in the air, or any emergency equipment that they use when they go down. So
that's awesome.
Just slightly important. I bet they're thankful to have you, man.
You know, a little bit, just a little bit, you know.
Well, cool, man. So today, like Mike said, we're going to be talking a little bit about identity, pressure, performance, and quiet strength and quiet faith in the military. Because especially as a junior, I see the opportunities. It's not that you have less opportunity to spread the gospel or talk about God, but you got to kind of, you have to reflect Christ more than somebody who might already be in a leadership or mentoring position, right? Probably a little bit harder for you than, say, like Gunny Keith, who was on last week. So anyway, and later on in the episode, stick around, guys, because we're going to talk about how this whole thing happened between Gunny Keith and Justin Lance Corporal Knight here. So, but before we do that, let's jump into a scripture, guys. Galatians 2:20. Galatians 2:20. It says, "It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me." And, you know, there's a version of you that the military knows as a Christian. There's a version of you that your friends know. And what we really want to talk about is that version of you that's there and shows up when all the noise stops and you take your uniform off and you're hanging
Mm.
out. All
Yeah.
right. So we kind of want to dive into that with that lens on today. And one of the things that I think in the military, Mike, and you can test this, military is a young man's game, right? I mean, I joined when I was 17 years old. And you have this like pressure to perform early in your life,
Yeah.
as opposed to the kid who goes to work or maybe even goes to college. Yeah, there's some performance there, but you got a lot more, other things you're focused on, and you have 4 years to take your time. But the pressure to perform early in the military is real. It's there. And, Justin, you're 20 years old, right? Yep. So, and you enlisted about a year ago now, a year and a half.
Yeah, about a year and some change. I enlisted,
Mhm.
stepped on the footprints August 13th of 2024. And, yeah, now I'm 20.
Mhm.
So I enlisted when I was 18.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Good. So, knowing that and that it's a young person's game, like what kind of pressure do you feel like young Marines feel at that age to kind of get it together really fast? And this is a loaded question coming from another Marine, but I don't think that's changed much. But in your mind now, here it is, 2026. What kind of pressure do you feel like we have to kind of get it together real fast at a young age?
It's immense pressure, honestly. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. I go through it every day, right? I've had a slew of medical issues since I've been in. I've hurt myself quite a few times. I mean, you have heightened weight standards. That's the biggest one for me. I like my food. I'm not going to lie, but, you have that. You have the pressure to perform. You have PFT. You have CFT. Those scores need to be up. You need to be getting promoted. You need to be getting your MOL courses done, or your Marine Net courses. Sorry. You have to keep up your physical with your educational. You have to take your McMap courses, get your belts up, and all of that goes into play on your JPES so you can get promoted. Because at the end of the day, nobody wants to keep that lesser grade of a rank. Everybody's trying to climb, and it is a competitive. The Marine Corps is very competitive in nature. Like, it can be your best buddy that you're going on a meritorious board with, and at the end of the day, like, yeah, that's my friend, but I want to get promoted. I'd rather me than him, and yeah, that's where I'll leave that. It's just, it is very, very competitive, and yeah.
And I know you from, like, guys, we met in the youth group in a mentoring relationship before any of this even began. I know you before that. I knew you in high school, and knowing now there's so much more we're going to pull apart with that. But do you feel like there's space for young soldiers, sailors, Marines to admit, and then you can give me the specific Marine point of view, but you have a lot of friends in other branches and things, to admit that you're still figuring things out? You think there's space for that?
Oh, dude, every day. It's an everyday thing. I have to humble myself every day. Like, I have to die to my flesh every day and remind myself, like, I am not in control. I'm not in control of the ship. Like, it's not me, but it's God, And as much as I want to control what's going on around me, like, there's no way. So, yeah, hard to explain that. Hard to explain that one in my own words, but
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. So you got an interesting perspective, because, I remember coming in the Army, and, my faith journey is not where it is today. And so focus wise, I was not focused on faith at all. I was focused on exactly what I needed to do to succeed at the next level and to do my best and give my best performance, regardless of my faith. So you've got a good perspective, because you're a Christian, right? You're a man of faith, and so what is that like, being a new Marine per se, and having to balance those expectations to succeed and also keep true to your faith? What's that like?
Yeah.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Mike. I joined with a very strong faith. There was nothing shaking me, and I'd say boot camp did a lot. It grew me spiritually, because every week I was going to church. I was really staying in the Word as well. It wasn't until I got to the fleet, to my unit, where everything kind of sort of went downhill. Like, I'm gonna just be honest, this is a little piece of my testimony. Like, I quit
Sure.
caring. Like, I flat out, I quit caring. I wanted to party. I wanted to live life. I'm a grown man, right? I'm an adult. I can do those things. And it didn't take me until I actually met, my girlfriend, Melissa, who keeps me in church every Sunday, to really realize where I was going, and the path that I was going down wasn't the one that I wanted to be on. And, I'm sorry, I kind of went down a rabbit trail.
That's good.
Could you
That's
repeat?
good.
Could you repeat the answer again?
No.
Or the question again?
Yeah. No, so
Yeah.
you're like you experience, or what you've experienced is essentially a push and pull at your identity as a Christian, right? So you come in, and there's this whole new world that you're exposed to, something that you probably didn't expect it to look like, right?
Of
With
course
all these
not.
expectations and everything that you're supposed to do, that you're supposed to be. The Marine has given you an identity of your own. So trying to reconcile those two, yeah, I wanted to hear from you, and you answered it, what that's like. And I just think it's really cool, man, that you come on the episode and talk about this and be vulnerable about it, because
Yeah.
I think a lot of junior enlisted don't want to talk about this because it kind of feels mushy gushy. They don't want to
Yeah.
be vulnerable. But deep down inside, they have these thoughts, man. They have these things that they want to talk about, they need to talk about, that they don't talk about. So, last week we talked about mentorship and what it means
Yeah.
to be a mentor and all that stuff, but we don't consider what's the viewpoint from someone who's brand new in the junior enlisted, who's searching for mentorship, right?
Yeah.
What do they see? What do they want? How do they want to be engaged? Because you're a new generation, man.
Yeah.
You're a new generation of soldiers, and we've got to be able to look at you and understand, how do we meet you where you're at, or what do we need to do in order to facilitate that relationship with you to help you grow, right? So that's what a lot of this episode's about. But I'll kick it back over
Yeah.
to keep the conversation going.
Yeah. It's Justin. No, that's good, Mike. And you're absolutely right. Justin, I know early on, and I feel like there's this big change that happens. Obviously, Marines, we give you an identity, right? Like Mike said, it's where you earn that identity. That's what Parasilent is all about. And anybody who's been through it, the first time you're called Marine is the day you graduate boot camp, and everybody knows that. Otherwise, you're just a recruit, right? So we hit you up on an identity right away. And you have that. So you have an identity switch number one, right? That you've earned after 3.5 months of torture, right? And then when you hit the fleet, tell me what happened in the transition from, man, AJ squared away, Marine is now my identity, and now I hit the fleet. What was that transfer like? And tell me about some of the relationships you had when you first got to your unit, like you and I had talked about early on, as far as like mentors go and somewhere you can go in the service.
Right.
Talk to me about that.
Well, I mean, they give you like on-base counseling, on-base mentorship, stuff like that. But honestly, it's kind of there's no meat and potatoes, dude. It's ramen noodles. If we're gonna put it in that analogy, I'd say some of my biggest mentors in my shop would probably be my gunnery sergeant. When you catch him, just one-on-one, he's really good with mentorship. From a Marine standpoint, not much really personal. I mean, he'll help you with personal issues, but it's more about performance. What can I be doing? What quals can I be getting so I can be working on different pieces of assets? Yeah, I would say transparency between NCOs and junior enlisted is a really big thing for me. If you're, I'd say like a sergeant or a corporal, right? And I have a question, and you look at me and you tell me to just go figure it out. Like, that's kind of the last thing I don't want to hear. I'm a very hands-on person. Like, if I'm going to be being counseled by you, that's a Marine word, counseled. I expect a little bit more hands-on. I'm not gonna lie. I'd say the corporals in my shop really help me out a lot with that. Like, it's not just like do as I say, not as I do. They're very hands-on with the work as well, and counseling.
Yeah, it's interesting because going from identity to identity, you went from being a high school kid to a Marine, you get to this unit, and were you looking to the Marine Corps to provide you with somebody to kind of look up to there? Or like when you first got there, what were your expectations when you hit the fleet?
I'm going to be honest with you, I just blank slate. I mean, coming out of schoolhouse, you don't really have expectations because you don't know what that looks like. You went to
Mm-hmm.
school, and in schoolhouse, it's kind of like boot camp, I guess, but more relaxed, I'd say. You're still PTing at 3 o'clock in the morning. You're still, got classes and everything like that, but it's a lot more relaxed. You get liberty, stuff like that. Um,
Mm.
but going into the fleet, I'm going to be honest with you, you have no clue what the fleet looks like. You only have word of mouth from your instructors. So,
Mm.
yeah, it's really hard to have any sort of point of view about it or any expectations because you have literally no clue what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, and I know Mike's done some work with ROTC and seen the transformation of cadet to officer.
Hmm.
And I really wanted to focus in on that transformation that happens. And it almost is like a rapid identity change. You go from like civilian to Marine to fleet Marine. And it's such a fast transition because schoolhouse is fast and we do things fast. We train people the most efficient way possible, and courses are short. Here's your 3.5 months, boom, you're blessed, you're out there, right? So
Right.
Mike, I know on your end, you've mentioned it a couple times, but what were like some of the big identity issues when you were at ROTC, and what are the things you saw when guys were making the change, you
Yeah.
know?
More along the lines of what Justin's talking about in terms of his experience is kind of the same because, you know, as they're cadets in college and they're trying to learn how to become an officer and what it means to be an officer, that's a very specific setting, right? It's a very specific environment that they're learning in. And once they commission and move out of college and go to their first unit, it's a whole different environment. It's a whole different ball game. And almost every one of my cadets that I've talked to that are, now captains or whatnot have said back to me, hey, this is not what I expected it to be at all. This is way different. So I can imagine the shock for you, Justin, going to the fleet and it's like, wait, this is a 9 to 5. This is
Right.
different. This is not what I expected it to be.
Right.
Right. And so it almost feels like you're building a new identity because you
Mhm.
almost feel like I don't know what I'm doing. What I was taught, like I understand a baseline, but now I don't know what I'm doing. I remember for me, like I looking back, I wish I had somebody who grabbed me spiritually, as a mentor and was able to
Yeah.
see that and say, this guy doesn't know what's going on. Let me grab a hold of him real quick from a spiritual standpoint. Yeah, I can mentor you on the military side and help you become a better officer, but spiritually is more important. Let me grab you there. Let me help you there. So I'm just curious, man, is there any of that at your level that you've see? And so like
It's
that's the
nothing like that, dude.
problem.
It's
Yeah.
Marine Corps life and work. There's very few people that I've ran across that have wanted to take a hold of me spiritually, and I don't know if he's gonna see this or not. I'm not gonna drop his name. I'm gonna just say he was a staff sergeant. It was during the course that we put on. Um, he came in and I have a tattoo. It's in Aramaic. It says Yahweh on the backside of my arm, and he saw it because at that time we were sleeves up. It was during the summertime, and he pulled me aside and he wanted to talk. And I say that was probably one of the most eye-opening conversations I've had with someone in a long time. It's like, you're a staff NCO, you're wearing the same uniform as me, and you want to talk to me about God? I was like, where has this been my entire, year in the Marine Corps? It's like
Yeah.
I haven't been able to just talk to somebody who knows exactly who I am because they were in my shoes. I mean, even at the MOS level, they had the same MOS as me. They've literally gone through every single experience that I've gone through. They know exactly where I'm
Mhm.
at, and they know like how to talk to me, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And
Man,
that's
isn't
only
that
happened to me
that
one time. And in
that's
doing that,
crazy.
it was just, yeah, it was one of the most eye-opening experiences ever. And me and that guy tried to do a little bit of a apologetical experiment and try to talk to some of the guys in the shop about God. But I'd say everybody in my shop is either an atheist or an agnostic, And it's so hard to talk to them. I mean, they come at me probably once a week, and I'm so glad I took apologetics in high school for 3 years, or I can't remember, 2 or 3 years. So, shout out to Pastor Brown from my school, because he did a pretty good job at teaching me. If I didn't have that class, I don't know where I'd be now, because there's no way I could be defending my faith the way I am now. I mean, these guys come at you from every angle, and they're gonna ask you questions that you have no clue how to even answer, and I feel I even with that, I have this like great peace over me, because it's like nothing they can say is gonna shake my faith, because I know who I am. I know where
Yeah.
my identity lies, and that's in Jesus Christ. And so
Yeah.
it's
Ooh,
just a
that's
very
good. Come on.
interesting it's just a very interesting time in my life. You know, my faith is being attacked almost once a week at least. And usually it's three guys at once, and they're just pounding me with questions that I can't, I don't know the answer to. And usually I try to get back to them, but when I do, they just kind of call me stupid or shrug it off and move on. But it is what it is. And last week, actually, I don't know why this kind of stuck on my heart. Somebody from my shop told me, they're like, I'm not going to go to a church that tells me that I can't come unless I tithe or I bring money or I bearing gifts, And the first thing that popped in my head, I looked at him and I was like, dude, you've been going to the wrong church then, man. I was like, what is this? What are you listening to, freaking, Kenneth Copeland or whatever his name is? Like, dude, like,
Yo, it's
drink
dropping names.
drink the Kool-Aid, bro. Stop drinking the Kool-Aid. Drink some holy water. I don't know what to tell you, bro.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
cool, man. Yeah.
That's
I think
cool,
it
because like
was,
what you're talking about is a pretty cool opportunity, because like even I haven't really experienced that, in a sense of, people knowing that I'm a Christian and kind of coming at me in my faith and kind of asking questions. So
Oh,
for
I'm
you
not
to have
scared
that
about it.
opportunity, I think is really cool, man. I think it's awesome, because
yeah.
I look at like Proverbs 25:4 that says, "Take away the dross from silver, and the smith has material for a vessel."
Yeah.
So this is an opportunity that God's using you to test your heart and bring some impurities out of you to make you stronger. But at the same time, you get an opportunity and chance to reflect Christ to them. So
Yes.
maybe they're asking all these questions because deep down inside, they're like, this guy's different.
Yeah.
What is it that's different about this guy? I want to know more about this guy. And the only way I can know that is to just go at him. That's the only way I know how. So I think it's a
Yeah.
cool opportunity, man. Just
Yeah.
lean right into it and dive in.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think
I agree.
I'm just very blessed to have the personality that I have, because I know a lot of guys that are junior enlisted, they're just quiet. Like, they don't want to talk. They don't want to, they don't want to get into none of that. And for some reason, I was just blessed with a big personality, and I am not scared to tell people that I'm a Christian, like, straight up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a hill that I'll die on. Like, you're not gonna shake me. You're not gonna, because my identity is embedded in, like I said, Jesus Christ. Like, there's nothing you can do about that.
That's
So
all.
now I'm going to hit you up, man, because that I do love what Mike said. I think is an opportunity, and maybe God's giving you the opportunity to steward some of those relationships. When you see them, if you thought of it more of like Mike said, man, that's a great opportunity. We're not trying to have you be some Bible thumping evangelist in the Marine Corps. That, having served, I can't imagine, but it may be an opportunity to just be real. And like Mike said, there's another scripture that I thought of here, and it's Romans 8:16, and it says the Spirit Himself bears witness with our own spirit that we're children of God. And maybe that's what they're seeing in you, and you could be kind of that voice to them. And I know you and I talk about this on the phone all the time, but like I said, just there's an emptiness there. We know that sits there, and we talk about discipleship all the time on this show. And to hear you say, like, there's absolutely nowhere to go inside for and then for you to tell me, I want to back up, man. Do you remember when I walked with you in the Marine recruiting office and we met Gunnery Sergeant Ryan Keith, who was on the other episode? We were there together because I was pouring out into you, and you allowed me the honor to go in and sit and listen to the recruiter with you, so you didn't have to be by yourself. And the first guy we run into was talking about God, Gunny Keith.
Right.
And then to have the experience of even a staff sergeant find your tattoos and go, hey, man, you're a Christian, I think, because my experience, guys, was 25 years ago, was totally the opposite of that. The only time I heard God was in my chaplain call to go see the chaplain and sit down with him. And honestly, man, I wasn't you. I was a Catholic. And so I sat down, and the first time I had anybody explain the Roman road to me was by a Baptist chaplain. And it was like we prayed the prayer and I said the words, and I instantly had a relationship with Christ from that point on. But I didn't have any way of like what I call activating my faith. I
Mm.
had no mentor, nowhere to go. There's no way I would have shown myself like weak to talk about the stuff you're talking about. And
Right.
I didn't have, not one time in the 4 years I was in did I have somebody talk to me about that. So I think you're on a path, bro, that God's got for you that, no coincidence, you're a recruiter, another senior enlisted Marine. Those are blessings, man. Wouldn't you agree, Mike?
Yeah. No,
I
absolutely.
mean,
Definitely been.
especially in the Corps. So, hard question for you, bro. What do you think
Before,
when you're not at work, right? We talked about when you're at work.
can I add on
Is
to
there?
something real quick that you just said?
Yeah, go
All
on.
right, so you
Yeah.
said it really struck me before because I'm a very forgetful person. I'm gonna forget this. So I wanted to kind of just shut it out now. You said um you said that it's very hard for us to be vulnerable about our faith and that you didn't want to seem weak, right? And
Mm-hmm.
for anybody watching, I wanted to just kind of share this. That's not a sign of weakness. Like your vulnerability,
Amen.
your vulnerability is a sign of strength because it shows you wanting to grow. Um,
Yeah.
it shows humility. It shows courage, which is a sign of strength. It's the complete opposite, right? And I don't know why. For some reason, I've just been blessed to be very vulnerable. Maybe that can get me in some trouble. Maybe that can't be. But I'm an open book. You can ask me and I'll share. I don't care. They say this a lot in the Marine Corps, right? Like you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable because that's how you get stronger and that's how you grow, right? So I feel like if you're going to get
Mm-hmm.
stronger in your faith and you're going to get stronger in having those conversations with people, vulnerability is a vital and essential, needs to be a vital and essential part of your life. That you are
Yeah.
willing to be
That's
vulnerable
good.
with somebody. Now, I'm not
Yeah.
saying go to Joe Schmo on the side of the road and tell him your life story, but when you're having these conversations with people, like in my point of view, when I'm having these conversations with people, like they're not going to listen to me unless I show them a little bit of myself, unless I be vulnerable, because you're not going to get vulnerability from somebody unless you're willing to be vulnerable. It's give
Yeah.
and
That's
take.
good,
And
man.
that's what I found with my prior experiences. Like, I mean, I'm gonna just I hate to kind of shut you down real quick. I just wanted to throw this out there. I had this really cool experience this past week, right? So I found a church out here, CTC Church for the City. Love that place. Reminds me of home. I started going to a small group about 3 weeks ago. It's been really awesome. It's kind of a traditional Bible study. I love it. Just another avenue to get in the Word. And even before that, I'd say about 3 months ago, I was outside. I wasn't in the smoke pit. I was on the other side of the barracks, and I was just sitting there. It was after a run. It was nice and cool outside. I was cooling off. I was sweaty, and some kid walks out and he's wearing frogs, and he's a PFC. So I'm like, hey man, I was like, why are you wearing frogs, dude? It's like 9 o'clock. Like, go to bed. What are you doing? And he's like, no, I'm deployed. I'm doing some stuff. And I was like, oh crap, dude. And I just ended up talking to him, like, just straight up, just had a conversation. I wanted to know who he was, where he's from, like get to know him a little bit, And that was 3 months ago, and this past week, I caught him walking in the hallway, and same thing. I had short sleeves on, was taking the trash out, and he sees me, and we start having a conversation to the trash can and back, or to the dumpster and back, and we start talking for a little bit. And he's like, "Hey man," he's like, "Are you a Christian?" He's like, "Are you Jewish?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not Jewish." I was like, "Why would you ask me that?" He's like, "Where your tattoo?" And I'm like, "Oh, dude, that's not Hebrew." I was like, "It's Aramaic." He's like, "Well, what's it say?" And I was like, "It says Yahweh." And he's like, "No way." He's like, "That's insane." He goes, "Can I just share something with you?" And I was like, "Of course." And he's like, that night, the first night we met, he's like, "You were sitting out there on that box and I come out." He was like, "I was in the dumps, dude." He goes, "I've been on this stupid deployment for the past 6 months. I hate my life. I hate the people I'm working with." He goes, "And I walk outside. I'm having a terrible night, and I see you. You just big, ray of sunshine, and you just want to talk to me. You want to get to know me. You want to." And he goes, it really made my night. And he goes, I really appreciate about you. And in between that time of when I met him and last week, I've been running into him in the hallway. "Hey, what's up, man? Hey, what's up, man?" And it's just so weird because I didn't think anything of that first experience. Me just talking to someone random. That's something I do all the time. I just talk to people. And I feel like that is such an that's a new piece of my testimony, because I didn't know how valuable this asset of this personality that God gave me was until now.
Amen.
And I'm really starting to see it.
It's a gift. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure. And it, and I hope you didn't misunderstand. Like, and remember, this is like the early mid '90s when I was in the Marine Corps. So you're talking a totally different time, and there were things we didn't talk about and things we didn't say, and
Right.
we're not
Don't ask, don't
encouraged, nor did they. Yeah, I mean, right. That was my era, right? So in my mind, I'm just saying, I really think it's a huge blessing that you're your age and experiencing that, and you have the ability to do it the right way, to kind of do it how God's calling you to do it. And I love your obedience to that, man. I just, that is a blessing. And the main thing is, like, and it doesn't really sound like this, but you don't really feel like you have to compartmentalize your faith when you're at work. I mean, do you feel like that's still a thing in the military? Because
I would say it is a thing. Oh, 100% it's a thing. For me, it's not, because I'm out with it. I don't care. I don't care what people think about me. That's been something that's just been a piece of me since before I even joined the military. I don't care what you think about me. Now, that may not be good, in a sense, but I don't care. I don't care what you're going to say. I don't care what you're going to do. I don't care what you think about me. I am who I am.
Mm-hmm.
My faith is in Jesus Christ. If you like that, hey, stick around. You might learn a thing or two. If you don't, tough luck, dude. Hey, Jesus loves you. I don't know what else to tell you. Like,
Yeah.
So
that's cool. Yeah.
But yeah,
Man,
I would
Mike,
say
what about
other
you?
juniors definitely I'm going to be honest with you. You're going to have to say that word.
Compartmentalize
Their faith, because they don't know
Yeah.
how to handle that, I wouldn't say abusive, but I would say people don't see religion in a professional setting like work. They wouldn't want to add that into where they work. I don't know how to say that, or how to properly.
No, I understand.
Properly say that. Just because we always are harping on this is a professional environment. This is a professional environment, and I feel like a lot of people don't see faith as professional or willing or able to be inside of a professional environment.
You know what's crazy too is I know of a podcast that'll teach you how to do that in the military and become a better leader from a Christian standpoint. Because what I hear you say,
no idea what you're talking about.
I know,
Mike.
right? Like what I hear you say is if you had leaders that displayed aspects of their faith and their leadership style, you guys would probably be a little bit more open to not compartmentalize and to probably talk about that a little more openly. And I was going to ask this question to you, but I don't even have to anymore, because as a senior leader in the Army, I struggle with trying to understand how to reach your generation. You guys are a different generation, man. Like being on social media a lot more than what we're on. Yes. So it's like, how do we reach you? Like, how do we communicate with you? You said a minute ago, man, you just want an authentic conversation.
Right. Transparency.
It's not like things have changed. Like, just have an authentic, transparent conversation, get to know somebody.
Right. And it's few and far between. It's few and far between nowadays to find a leader who is completely transparent with you. And I can say I'm very blessed to have leaders like that in my shop. Just about everybody on my unit you can sit down and talk to them and be very transparent and be like, hey, I'm having this issue. How can you help me with this? And they're probably not, they might not give you an opinion from a godly standpoint, but they're going to give you an opinion and they'll talk to you. I have master sergeants, gunnery sergeants, master gunnery sergeants that I can just, knock on their door because they have an open door policy and be like, Master Guns, I have a question.
Yeah.
And it's not, you're not looked down upon because you're a junior enlisted. And I feel like I'm very blessed to be in the unit that I am because of that. And don't get me wrong, good. There is a level of respect. I'm not going to go barge into, a Master Sergeant's office and be like, hey, Master Sergeant, I have a question, It's very, you got to keep it professional there and proper greeting of the day. Be very, keep your values and values and customs and courtesies. But other than that, I'm very blessed to have that. I know other people that don't. Other people, they have sergeants and corporals and NCOs and staff NCOs above them in other units that they can't just approach, hey, I have a question, because they're going to look at them and tell them to go pound sand. You enlisted.
Yeah.
You small enlisted swine, get away from me, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
That's awesome. That, well, no comment, but I mean, it sounds like God's just had his hand on you the whole way through this. So you see, what are some of the little ways you see him showing up on a day to day? I know you talked about your friend there that saw your Yahweh tattoo. What are some other little ways you see him showing up?
Yeah, most definitely that situation there. Well, I wouldn't say situation, that instant, I guess. I don't know. It's little ways, little ways. I'd say just like there's been a lot of situations like that where like my personality is rubbed off on another person in a way, and
Mhm.
like I am able to just instantly make friends with people for some reason. I mean,
Mm.
some people that I'm not gonna rub them the right way, or they don't want to talk to me ever again, which is completely fine.
No, not
But
Justin, not
you
you.
know, for the most part, you know, it's very easy for me to make friends. It's very easy for me to talk to people, and I have a decent amount of friends out here that, you know, I can just talk to. Um, Other ways.
You ever,
I'm gonna stick
what's
with
your
it.
opinion
I'm
on?
gonna stick with that answer. I'll think of it in a minute.
Good, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how about I know Mike and I talk a lot about like what we see with young service people, like as far as, and mainly the older guys, I would say more than anything is like, we like to show that we're strong and we know what we're doing all the time. And then it's like, I've talked to so many guys and they've got some major thing going on in their life on the inside, you know, from your perspective with like, with the younger military generations, do you see a lot of that?
All the time. All
Hmm.
the time. You hear
Tell me
stories
about it.
about dudes getting DUIs. You hear stories about dudes getting, you know, in legal trouble. People that are having family issues, and the legal trouble. Yeah, that stuff's all documented, but you really don't know what's going on inside their heart. And so
Awesome.
it's an interesting time when things like that happen, because it's hard to reach them because they're so embarrassed because, you know, they got in trouble. They don't want to talk about it. You know, leave me alone. Um, but yeah, I'd say like there's major things that go on in people's lives and they just don't talk about it at work. Like I'll
Mm.
figure it out on my own, and I feel like that's a very Marine Corps mentality. Um, yeah, we work as one cohesive unit. We're one team, one fight. But then when it comes to things on the personal level, it's not
Yeah.
something that's discussed in the workplace, honestly.
That's, you know, Mike, that is like something interesting. I'd love to like pull apart a little bit sometime. Is just like
Yeah.
that disconnect, man. And I know you've said some stories about some officers, like, and even yourself or even me, like, man, I've experienced that, you know,
Mhm.
where you everybody thinks you have it all together and then some major collapse happens. But I think reaching the young people is like, you know, maybe going beyond that, digging a little bit deeper, you know, as a leader, as a military leader, as a business person, like I can say being on the outside, you know, when I see somebody struggling, my first instinct isn't to kick them while they're down or just like question whether or not they are the strong person I thought they were.
Mhm.
It's like, this is seasonal. There's something going on. I would hope that we all look at it through a lens of, you know, that's still God's child, right? That's still, that person still has value, even if they don't have it all together at this moment.
Mhm.
And I think it's important. Like, man, you gotta, you know, we talk about this all the time from a higher level leadership perspective, Mike, but I think there's a lot, it sounds like there's a lot of work to do with the juniors, and there'd be a lot of space for a leader to come in and say, hey, I see, you know, maybe that guy, I'm going to focus a little bit more on the one that is struggling. And Ryan kind of talked about this last week, you
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
we got into that a little bit, but this is just more confirmations of what I'm hearing from, you know, from Justin.
Yeah. I think senior leaders are too scared to let their faith show while they're being professional with their subordinate soldiers, especially when they're dealing with issues or know something's going on and they're trying to address it and help them. They don't let their faith shine through in the ways they're trying to help, right? So, the level of compassion you can show, you know, a soldier or a Marine who's going through something, and maybe you have to give them an Article 15 or UCMJ or something like that, you feel like that's the professional thing to do because things or leaders are expecting you to do that. But the truth is, your faith tells you that if you show compassion, there's a different way to handle that.
Yeah.
And those are the situations in which you make big impacts on soldiers, Marines, sailors, things of that nature. And so for all the senior leaders out there, all the leaders out there, what I hear Justin saying is
Mm-hmm.
stop being scared to let your faith intermix with your professionalism
Yep.
and let it be the basis for you going forward because it'll do a lot more for the junior enlisted to help them get through things and see that you're vulnerable too and you're going through some of the same things that they may be going through. And so to be able to have that vulnerability shows a level of equality in a rank based environment or structure, and that will breed trust in the end is what I hear. So I
Mm-hmm.
know for me, I've got to do better about just engaging soldiers and just
Yeah.
having good authentic
Yep.
conversation with them and to just let my faith shine, man. Just let it go and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I will say
Yeah,
this
for
though. I
sure.
will say this. Like I said earlier, right? Marines are very one team, one fight, and we're very cohesive. Um,
Yeah.
when you get a bunch of Marines together and they want to worship, there's nothing more powerful. It's insane that the videos I've seen, the experiences I've had, when you get a bunch of Marines together that want to worship the Lord Jesus Christ, it's electric. I don't know how else to explain it. Like it's insane, dude, because they're so
Yeah.
passionate. Marines are so passionate about what we believe in, right? And when you get a bunch of Marines that believe in, Jesus Christ, like it's insane.
That's
Mhm.
awesome, bro. That's a
So
whole nother level, man.
it's
Yeah.
the most transparent. It's the most like
Mm-hmm.
passionate worship you've ever seen.
That's good. That's awesome, man. I don't know. You're making me jealous, man. I wish I would have had that. Wish I could have seen that if I was smart enough, right? So that brings us to the next thing, kind of the way we want to wrap this up and talk about like the future and having things figured out, and I think it's important. Like we talked last episode with Gun Keith, and it's like it's come up time and time again that, you know, none of us have it figured out. And no matter what age you are, right? It doesn't matter. I know guys, like I've said before, all the way up through their 70s right now that'll tell you, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
Mm.
Because it's about relying on God and trusting him to show you that next right step. And if we're doing it the right way, then, we said we haven't arrived, right? And so do you feel like there's pressure in your life, Justin, at your age of 20 years old, already to have the next step figured out?
Yeah, I'd say it's very minor though, honestly. I feel like I have a lot of years ahead. I have a lot of time to plan. I have plenty of resources and assets to use in preparation for my next step. Sadly, I'm not making a career out of this. I love the Marine Corps. I love what it is. It's a love-hate relationship, but I'm going to be getting out after my first enlistment. I know I got years ahead of me. I know I got a couple years ahead of me, but there is a pressure. Yeah, like we have systems inside the Marine Corps. I don't know if y'all probably call it something different in the Army. We call it TRS, Transitional Readiness Seminar. Kind of shows you how to build a resume, how to shoot your application to people, how to just make yourself look really sexy on a piece of paper, and then send it to some businesses and get a job.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say there is a pressure, but for me, it's not very pressing right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I know we've talked about, it's funny because we have these conversations and planning on how can I help you with the next stages and help you to feel more prepared. But, we've all said that and that we don't have it all figured out. So for you, I'm going to kind of wrap it up with this is, Justin, when you and I met, right, before you were a Marine, and to see you transform and now get into the fleet and where you are now and the things you're struggling with and be a part of your life with that is, what would you say, knowing what you know now, to the version of yourself a few years ago before you joined the military?
Stop running.
Mm.
Stop running from your problems. Figure it out before you don't get me wrong, this is the right step. I feel like God told me, like, hey, like, this is where you're going. This is what you're going to be doing for the next few years. But I feel like if I were to have taken care of the problems that I'm dealing with now before I got into the military, I feel like my life would be a lot different now. Don't get me wrong, I love the way everything went down because I wouldn't be who I am right now. I wouldn't want any differently, but I feel like things would be a lot more different if I told myself to just slow down, deal with those relationships, with family, with friends, fix the issues. And yeah.
That's good,
You got
man.
your whole life ahead of you, This
That's awesome.
this'll happen all in due time, and that was my thing. I joined the Marine Corps because I was running, honestly. Oh, I wouldn't say I joined it because I was running. I joined the Marine Corps because that's something that I've always wanted to do my entire life. But in the pace that I did it, I was running from something. And looking back now, I see it was some of the memories that I've had to relive and rehash that I didn't want to deal with. And recently, I've been seeking some counsel out here. Not really sure what that's going to look like. I've kind of thrown around my name to a handful of people, but something I'm interested in getting into.
Cool.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I couldn't be more proud of you, bro. I'm blessed to be and honored to be in a position of like an older brother, and to be in your life, to hear you say the things you've really grown up, man, from where you were, from being that kid in the youth group that just used to pick on everybody. Don't think I didn't know that. But to where you are now. And I think this will resonate with a lot of people, guys, whether you're in now, or if you're listening to the podcast thinking about joining the military or becoming an officer. If you think you're behind, just like, no, you don't have to have it all figured out. And we are asked to grow up quick, each and every one of us that raised the hand, right? Sorry, wrong hand. but the truth is that God does some of his best, absolute best work in seasons of your life when you don't have it figured out, because he wants you to rely on him.
Yeah.
And so instead of just, focusing on being certain, or I'm going to be impressive, or I'm going to be strong, do what Justin was kind of talking about here today, and what Mike has talked about as a leader. Allow God to work in your life when you aren't sure, and watch what he does with you.
Yeah.
And so thank you, Justin, for being open and being transparent, and be willing to talk to a couple of old dudes, at least one old dude here, right? And we're very blessed by you being here, man. Thank you so much.
It's all right. Believe it or
Yeah.
not, we all three have gray in our hair. I'm starting to find a few pieces here and there.
Oh,
I
be
know I'm
quiet.
no,
Be
dude, I'm not
quiet.
even lying. I'm not even lying. There's gray in my hair.
Like, I can't
That's a
even
sign
turn
of-
my head. No,
That's
I'm
a
just
sign of
kidding.
wisdom, is what I read in the Bible. So yeah,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
get wisdom,
There it
man.
I'm gonna say that.
Maybe, just maybe, right?
Sure about that, salt and
So,
pepper.
Mike, you got any thoughts closing us out, Mike?
Yeah. Hey, Justin, man, I appreciate you coming on, dude. It takes a lot for someone to put themselves out there like that and jump on a podcast, especially in the military sense, and talk about their faith. I want to encourage you that, even though you're going to knock out one enlistment and balance, dude, you have a immense opportunity right now to affect the next generation of leaders that go forth. And it may not be from a perspective of bringing them to know Christ before you get out, but just by the way you act and the way that you reflect Christ in your life may be enough to impact them so that they start demonstrating some of the same qualities. And before you know it, as they start to pontificate on their life, they'll probably understand they're not where they want to be, and you'll probably help them get a little bit closer where they need to be. So, and even as you go forth in your career and whatever else you do next, man, you've got a good head on your shoulders, and I know you're going to go far and do great things. Just never forget that faith aspect, like you're talking about. Keep God first and foremost, and don't be afraid to put it out there, brother. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah. Justin, I'd love it if you'd pray us out, man.
Yeah, man. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for the many blessings you've given us. I want to say thank you for this podcast. I hope it reaches many people that are struggling, that are looking for you and looking for ways to grow in their personal life and in their faith and in their career. I I just want to say thank you for today. Thank you for tomorrow and the years to come. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining the podcast, and we will check you on the next episode. Thanks.
See you next time.